Okay, good evening. I am doing a recording for InTasc standards 6, 7, and 8. And I'm going to be doing Diana Camacho, I believe her name is, and this teacher, Diana Camacho, yes. And I wanted to talk through her assessment lesson. Overall, I think this lesson is really great. If we look at standard 6, as far as forming assessments, there are multiple methods of assessment that she's using to engage. So in this first standard for 6, I would definitely give her a 4. She balances a ton of different aligned formative, summative assessments. She's got students walking around the room. She has students that are meeting with her. She is doing, check-ins. Then she's doing a summative when they're creating a whole report, and she's using that IB method of kind of using integrated learning, and the students are engaged and they're on the floor, and then they're back at the computers and they're all over the place. So as far as informed assessment, I think for sure this is a 4 in how she is presenting the materials. For a guiding question in relates to learner progress and guiding from data, I think it's very clear that she understands the standards. She understands where her students are as far as multiplication and science and applications of both methods. She has a great grasp at times of who needs extra help, and she meets with those students. She definitely has figured out who is an independent learner and which way to go from there. So I would say for sure that the candidate consistently uses the data obtained from assessment to give feedback, redesign the lessons. It's obvious that she put a ton of work into how she was going to create this lesson, how she was going to work through the standards, and how she was going to make sure that all students were engaged. So definitely a 4 there. Does the candidate make proper accommodations and modifications of testing for students with special needs and ELL students? I think this is where in this lesson you would really have to dig into her lesson plan and ask those difficult questions, because I think from a differentiated viewpoint in this lesson, it's very much loud in the classroom. Students are walking around, they're doing things, they're independent learning. And I wonder with certain students how they might react or what type of differentiation she would need. So from one aspect, there's so much differentiation going on that it's so personalized and individualized that it's really great. From a different perspective, it's so loud and moving and changing and, very obviously doing all these things that it may not actually hit all of those differentiation standards. As far as for 7, planning and instruction, I mean, there's rigorous learning in there. There's definitely pulling from science and math and then incorporating those and working through all of these lessons. So I would definitely say outstanding there. She's meeting and exceeding rigorous goals, both from an English and Spanish perspective, both from a science perspective. She's asking tough questions using critical thinking. Students have to present their ideas. So definitely a 4 there for planning instruction. And then as far as student interest, she has the students talking and speaking and sharing and collaborating. They're out in the halls, they're doing videos, they're walking around the classroom, which I love to do with math students. So there's definite interest. I say that would 100% be a 4. It's fun to watch her classroom in motion. For number 8, she is definitely incorporating technology. We see technology in every aspect of her lesson. We also see her continuously monitoring the students, making sure each student is getting some attention in different areas. We see her meet one-on-one with students. We see her in a whole group. We see her in small groups. So as far as instructional strategies, I think she's doing a great job. And tons of, if we look at guiding question about effectively asking questions, we see students throughout the process figuring out the solution for the oil spill, talking about what the fire does, talking about the science behind it, collaborating, and then presenting that in a summative assessment. She really does hit all of the things in an assessment, especially for 6, 7, and 8. And I believe across the board from 1 through 10, she probably could be assessed at, a 3 or 4 almost every single time. What went well? Well, number 1, this teacher has a great grasp of just enthusiasm, student norms. Students are engaged. Students are appearing to really like their class. They're on the floor. They understand where to go, when to do it. She has multiple things running in her class, and everybody seems to be able to accomplish those. So she's obviously set a very collaborative learning environment, but a very strict in terms of where students should go and how they should interact. And it seems very positive. Students want to answer questions. They want to raise their hand. They want to present. They want to talk to her in Spanish. So I think from a standards objective, she's done all that well. And it's really fun to watch even. She's so enthusiastic. I kind of want to be in that class. What can be improved? Again, it's difficult to tell how she is differentiated. I mean, we know that there's differentiated learning going on. We can see it because some are doing some math, some are doing videos, and some probably have differentiated programs. But again, it's hard to tell in a classroom like that with so much going on. If there are students who are special needs, how are those needs being met? Besides just obvious differentiation, and how does she manage that in a class with so much going on? So I'd be interested to, to talk to her, or speak with her, or see that from a larger perspective. And also, I think with that being said, it's probably taking a significant amount of time to get to a classroom in which you can have all these moving parts in a 90-minute class. That's a lot of time. So she's obviously using that very well. And I think, as far as ideas and resources and suggestions, she obviously had to come this far and knows a lot of how to classroom management to get there. The resources or suggestions I would give would just be continuing to build on that collaborative movement, those presentation skills, to talk about differentiation, and just to maybe share her knowledge with others, because I think the way that she does that work around the room and all the things that she's doing from a math and science perspective are really brilliant. It was very busy, and I'm a busy person. So I wonder, again, for those kids that might need a little bit more structure or quiet time or don't do well in a stimulated environment, I don't know how they would do in a class like that. So maybe some recommendations for students that how to take away that stimulant and still be productive. I'd be curious to see if she has kind of some spaces where they can engage as well. But overall, from a 6, 7, and 8, I think this is a great example of an incredible lesson, and what you can do in a classroom when you're enthusiastic, when you understand your content, when you know where you're going from a collaborative and instructional place. And it's really obvious that she loves her students and they love her, which is number one. A great atmosphere. And also the kids are pretty good in Spanish. Speaking in Spanish myself, I was impressed. Okay, that is my evaluation for peer review templates 6 through 8. Thank you so much.